This morning is an exclusive look at Britney Spears' new memoir. It's called The Woman in Me. People magazine editor-in-chief, that's Wendy Naugle, is here with a preview that you'll see only on CBS Mornings, and we love when we can say that. I'm going to say it again. Only on CBS Mornings.
That's right.
For 13 years, thank you, Nate, the former teen superstar lived under a legal conservatorship controlled by her dad. Spears is now telling her story after a judge agreed to end that conservatorship in 2021. She also posed for her first magazine cover in 5 years and answered questions by email about writing her memoir and her life today. People magazine and CBS Mornings will exclusively reveal several excerpts from the book in the coming days. We're starting today. The Woman in Me is published by Simon & Schuster, which, as you probably know by now, is a part of CBS, Paramount Global. And we're also happy to say that Wendy Naugle from People magazine, I'm a subscriber, Wendy, is here in the studio. So let's talk about the cover shoot, if we could, for just a second, because we've all seen Britney dancing around in her house, and people are very concerned looking at her dancing. What can you tell us that your team said about that cover shoot that day? What was she like? How did it go?
Yeah, it was a closed set in Tahiti, a very remote beach. And, you know, I think what we saw as we poured over the images and the video that came out is she was tentative at first, which struck me. I thought, here's a woman
with tentative?
She was tentative, you know, 42 million followers
Yes.
and on Instagram, and she's performed around the globe. And yet, you know, she was a little tentative, but then you really saw her make some decisions about what she did and didn't want. I think one of my favorite moments was, you know, she was on a horse and she started riding off and she kind of went out of the frame of the camera, and you saw this joy and happiness in her that I think she's keeping private a little bit. I think she was riding off, you know, it's almost too metaphorical in a way, but...
Almost like a sense of freedom.
Exactly.
Yeah, you know, when we're looking at the videos, a lot of people are very concerned about her. Is she okay? Is she in her right mind? Is she... Who's helping her? Who's taking care of her? Did you and your team get the sense that she is all right?
Yes, I mean, one of the things she detailed in the interview is she admits that this has been a challenging time for her. I think she writes very honestly and painfully in the book that the conservatorship was soul-crushing for her. And she describes this process of she would try to be an adult, but they wouldn't allow her to be adult. So she would regress into being a child. And then she would try again, but she wasn't allowed to make adult decisions. And she became this child robot, was the way she described it. And I think when you think about that, as we all become adults and you're allowed to make mistakes and have successes, and becoming an adult is a process.
Yeah.
And she was really kind of denied that process of becoming a woman.
One of the excerpts from the book was about that time during the conservatorship and how much she worked. What is the sense that you received from her about that time in her life and how exhausted she truly was?
She worked exceptionally hard. There's one line that really stuck with me from the hearing itself where she said she tried so hard to be so pretty and so perfect. And for years, since she was 15, she had a work ethic that I think is really unparalleled in a lot of ways.
And nobody can live up to that.
No one can live up to that, you know? And I think she really writes about in the conservatorship, she was supporting so many people financially. You know, there's so many cases of men who have had gambling problems, addiction problems, but they were never put under this kind of constraint. And so really, she felt like it was not fair of her family to do this to her.
Wendy, how does Britney handle the question of why write the memoir? And then also, what do you think she wants readers to take away from it?
So back in the hearing, she had said one of her wishes was not only to have her life back, but was to be able to tell her story to the world. And so this is what she's doing. She started writing about 1.5 years ago. I think we all know a memoir like this is a really kind of exhaustive, emotional process and probably cathartic for her. And I think this is her attempt to reclaim her own life and her own narrative. But she also really hopes, one of her goals that she told us at People was she wants people to speak up, you know, to not be afraid. She hopes if any one person can find some guidance and in their own trials, this will really be worth it for her.
I can't wait to read it.
Yeah.
I can't
It's
wait.
a fascinating
Do you have a
read.
copy? Yeah. No, honestly, I can't wait to read it.
It's a fascinating read and I think incredibly eye-opening.
I'm
and
excited for her, and I hope it helps her
Yes.
in her healing journey. I really
Definitely.
do. A lot of people still always pulling for Britney Spears.
Absolutely.
Always. Thank you, Wendy. Thank you
Thank
for coming.
you.
You can learn more about Britney's memoir and read her entire interview with People when the magazine hits the newsstands on Friday. Although if you're a subscriber, you get it a couple days early. It's also on people.com. In the coming days, we'll have several exclusive excerpts from The Woman in Me right here on CBS Mornings before it's released next Tuesday.